Hi, I'm so glad you're back. And today we're going to get right into James chapter 2, 14 through 17. So here we go. What good is it, my brothers, if someone says he has faith but does not have works? Can that faith save him? If a brother or sister is poorly clothed and lacking in daily food, and one of you says to them, "Go in peace, be warmed and filled," without giving them the things needed for the body, what good is that? So also faith by itself, if it does not have works, is dead. So here we go again. James is still teaching us about not snubbing or mistreating the poor or the person that is not liked as much. He's still teaching us not to show partiality and or favoritism. And he spent 13 verses on this. Can you imagine? This must be really important for us to pay attention to. And I would imagine by that a lot of us have problems with it. We're kind of like the Good Samaritan. You know, all the other guys who walked by and just like didn't want to, they turned the other way and pretended not to notice or whatever their problems was. It's kind of like that. That's what we are sometimes doing, right? Okay, so let's continue here. So now today he adds four more verses that just takes the whole thought of favoritism or partiality to another step so that we can understand it more fully and understand what we can do about it. So hopefully we'll get the message soon. Okay, in verse 14, it talks about, can you say you have faith if you don't have works? If you do nothing to show your faith, is your faith a reality? So, no. The answer is no. You um, you can't just do works. That won't save you. You know that, and I know that. You do have to have faith to save you. But it's by our works that people know we are saved. It's like our works won't save us, but our faith pours out into things we do for other people or the way we act, the things we say. So we're looking at how we can pour this out by not showing partiality to the poor who doesn't have clothes or very nice clothes, or maybe they are definitely worn out and or it doesn't have enough food. And I know this is hard in our society because we see people that are just like on welfare and kind of eking the system, and some of them probably dress better than we do. So, but this is not talking about that kind of person. It's talking about the brother and sister who's a believer and who are really hurting financially, and they are poor in the true sense of the word. And so your faith alone won't save you. Okay, you have to do something, and you have to put actions to your word. So my question through this little discussion today is, what can or do you do for others that expresses your faith? So we're talking about expressing our faith. So now let's look at verse 15. And it says, if a brother or sister is poorly clothed and lacking in daily food, and that's the part we're going to look at right now. This is an example that James gives us of a poor person. Okay, a poor person that's truly poor, they don't have adequate clothing. Maybe they don't have a warm enough coat, and you live where it gets really cold, and they just don't have that or have that for their children as well. Um, or maybe they don't have, they're having a really hard time coming up with the money for food, and it's getting really hard. And food, gas prices are shooting up right now, so that food prices are shooting up, and so their condition is poorly clothed, and they haven't got they have no food or not adequate food. So how do you reach out to them? That's what I'm asking you. And I'm asking myself. And it's not this way. You don't say to them, oh, go in peace, be warmed and filled. You don't say like something nice, oh, I'm so glad you're here today. It just have a really good week and go in peace, have a good week. You know, we might put it that way in our society. And just stay warm, stay filled, you know. So we say things like that without thinking about what we're saying. So what good is that? If this is your response, you've not helped them by giving them what they needed. This is talking about your Christian brother or sister, okay? It's not talking about the one who's poor that just meet when you're out and about. It's talking about the Christians that are going through things like this. So, knowing the poor, and listen to them, listen to what they're saying. You have to listen closely because a lot of times that kind of person isn't going to let you know what their needs are. And see what God is trying to say to you today about this. Pray about it when you have your quiet time, you spend time with Jesus to help you see the person who's truly in need. And James 2:17 is a key verse to the whole book of James. And it says, so also faith by itself, if it does not have works, is dead. So if you don't have put action to your faith is kind of dead, okay? Fake faith, a faith without works. Because, one, if someone says he has faith and says you believe in the Lord, but you don't have action to it, what use is it? You're not fulfilling the gospel. You're not the whole thing with being a believer is to do something about it, to tell other people, to show people. Sometimes you can't show people because they're so closed, and so you can show them, and you start by showing people who are Christians and helping them out. The early church obviously had a problem with this, but basically they would pool their money to help people in their local church group. So who have you known in your past that was needy? Who in your present time that people, your circles now? And how can you reach out to them today? And so show your faith, it has action to it and isn't a dead faith, that you truly do believe in Jesus, and that you show the love of Jesus, that you have, that people can see Jesus in you. You can take them a meal. You can used to be, I don't see it as much today, but people used to give bags of clothing and passed around. Maybe it's because my kids grew up, but I sometimes often found something I needed in that bag of clothes that I actually needed. And there was a friend who had a relative that worked in a place that made bread, and she'd sometimes come with a whole bag of bread for me. And she did that during a time when we were having a hard time, and I just couldn't, I made bread for years. So I couldn't fit that into my schedule. So that it was when it really was truly needed. And she'd show up at the door with a bag of bread. So what can you do? How can you pass on something you have, or some skill you have to share with others your love for Christ, and especially those who are needing it in some way, who are believers in Jesus Christ? Tell me in the comments. I'd love to hear. Okay, see you tomorrow.